When my daughter told me I was no longer welcome in my own company, I collapsed right there in the boardroom. 3 days later, I was sleeping in a budget motel while she moved into my penthouse. That's when I realized that raising a viper in your bosom doesn't just leave a sting, it poisons your entire existence. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story has more twists than a courtroom thriller, and you won't want to miss a single minute of how I fought back. My name is Antônia Vasquez, and for 32 years, I built Vasquez Architectural Solutions from nothing into a multi-million-dollar company. My husband Claudio and I started in our garage, drafting blueprints on a second-hand desk while our daughter Camila played at our feet. We sacrificed everything, vacations, luxuries, sometimes even meals, to grow this business. When Claudio died unexpectedly of a heart attack 3 years ago, I was devastated. We'd been partners in everything, and suddenly, I was alone at the helm. Camila was 28 by then, with her own architectural degree and 5 years of experience in our company. She stepped up admirably during my grieving period, taking on clients and managing projects while I struggled through my fog of loss. "Mom, don't worry about anything," she'd say, bringing me tea as I sorted through Claudio's personal effects. "The company is secure. I've got it handled." I trusted her completely. After all, she was our daughter, the one we'd raised to eventually take over the family legacy. What I didn't realize was how quickly eventually would arrive. Last month, Camila called an emergency board meeting. I arrived expecting discussions about our upcoming Chicago project, but instead found our company lawyer, 2 board members I rarely dealt with, and Camila sitting at the head of my table. "Mom," she said, her voice colder than I'd ever heard it, "we need to discuss the future leadership of Vasquez Architectural." I smiled uncertainly, setting down my portfolio. "Of course, honey. I've been thinking about transitioning more responsibilities to you over the next few years." "That won't be necessary," she interrupted, sliding a document across the table. "According to Dad's will, control of the company transfers to me upon his death, with a 3-year transition period. That period ended last week. Script part separator ===. I stared at the document, my reading glasses sliding down my nose. "What are you talking about? Your father and I built this company together. We are 50-50 partners." The lawyer, not our regular company attorney, but someone new, cleared his throat. "Mrs. Vasquez, your husband made changes to his will shortly before his death. You retained ownership of your personal assets, but his controlling shares were designated to transfer to Ms. Camila after the 3-year transition." "This is absurd," I said, my voice rising. "I never signed off on this." "You didn't need to," Camila replied smoothly. "Dad's shares were his to distribute as he wished. But we had an agreement." "A verbal agreement, perhaps," the lawyer interjected. "But legally, this document supersedes any prior understanding." I looked around the table at the board members, men who'd dined in my home, who'd watched Camila grow up. They avoided my eyes, studying their folders with sudden interest. "I don't understand," I whispered, feeling the ground shift beneath me. Why would Claudio do this without telling me? Camila's face softened slightly. "Dad knew you'd never step back voluntarily, Mom. You're too controlling. He wanted to ensure I had my chance to lead. By blindsiding me. The betrayal wasn't just from my daughter, but from my husband of 30 years. Had he really gone behind my back like this? The company needs fresh direction," Camila continued. "Modern approaches, younger clients. The board agrees." I turned to them, these men I thought were allies. One finally spoke. "Antônia, we have immense respect for what you've built. But Camila has presented some compelling plans for expansion. And I wasn't even consulted," I said, my voice breaking. Camila straightened the papers before her. "There's one more thing. As the new CEO, I'll be taking over the company penthouse. Script part separator ===. Our penthouse apartment had been built into the top floor of our headquarters 15 years ago. Claudio and I had designed every inch ourselves, from the marble kitchen countertops to the rooftop garden where we'd hosted countless client events. "You can't be serious," I gasped. "That's my homie. It's a company asset, Mom." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "You'll need to vacate by the end of the week." The silence in that boardroom was suffocating. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, was evicting me from my home and company in one brutal stroke. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. 32 years of my life were being erased in a 10-minute meeting. I stood up so quickly my chair crashed backward. My hands trembled as I gathered my fins. This isn't over, I managed to say, though my voice sounded distant to my own ears. Camila sighed like I was being unreasonable. Don't make this difficult, Mom. Take some time to travel. Enjoy your retirement. Retirement? I'm 57 years old. The board members examined their shoes, their watches, anywhere but at me. Cowards. I somehow made it to the elevator before the tears came. By the time I reached my office, which wouldn't be mine much longer, I could barely see through them. I locked the door and collapsed into my chair, the same chair where I'd signed our first $1 million contract, where I'd nursed Camila as a baby while taking client calls. My phone buzzed with a text from my assistant Maria. Are you okay? Everyone's talking about what happened. Nils Traveus Fest. I wiped my eyes and typed back. Pack up my personal items. Discreetly. 3 days later, I found myself in a sterile room at the airport suite's extended stay, staring at 5 boxes of hastily packed belongings, photo albums, awards, the quilt my mother had made me. My life reduced to what could fit in the trunk of my car. The financial reality was crushing. While I had some personal savings, most of our wealth was tied up in company stock. Stock that Camila now controlled. That night, as I lay on a mattress that smelled of industrial cleaner, I realized something that made me sit bolt upright. Claudio would never have done this to me. Never. Which meant something about this whole situation wasn't right. Script part separator ===. I spent the next morning sifting through the few documents I'd thought to grab. Bank statements, old tax returns, nothing that would help me understand what had happened. I needed answers, and I knew exactly who to call. Luisa Mendez had been my friend since college and was now one of the city's most respected estate attorneys. I met her at her downtown office, still wearing yesterday's clothes and probably looking every bit the desperate woman I was. Jesus, Tony, she said when she saw me. You look terrible. Thanks, I said dryly. My daughter just stole my company and kicked me out of my home. Should I be glowing? Her office was a sanctuary of order, everything I no longer had. As I explained what happened, her expression shifted from concern to suspicion. This doesn't sound like Claudio, she said, echoing my own thoughts. He adored you. And the timing is strange. You're saying he changed his will right before his death? Apparently. Did you ever see this will? During probate. I frowned. The lawyer handled everything. I was not functioning well. Who was the lawyer? Gregory Phillips. Our company attorney for 20 years. And was Phillips at this ambush board meeting? No, irrealiza. It was someone new. Adams, I think. Luisa began making notes. I want to see that will. The real one filed with the courts. Can you do that? Of course. Public record. She paused. Who benefits most from this situation, besides Camila? I started to say no one, when a name flashed in my mind. Elisa Blackwood. The competitor who's been trying to buy you out for years? Yes. And lately, she and Camila have been friendly. I saw them having lunch last month. Luisa's eyes narrowed. Friendly how? I don't know. Camila said they met at a conference and had some ideas to discuss. Ideas like taking over your company? Luisa set down her pen. Tony, I think your daughter might be a pawn in someone else's game. And we need to move fast. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe Camila hadn't betrayed me willingly. Maybe there was more to this story. What do we do? First, we get a court order freezing any major company decisions. Then we investigate this will. Something's not right, and I'm going to find out what. I left Luisa's office with a mission. I wasn't just going to roll over and accept defeat. I was going to fight for my company, and maybe for my daughter too. Script part separator ===. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Luisa filed emergency motions while I scraped together enough money to rent a small apartment near our office building. I could see my penthouse from my new bedroom window, the lights burning late as Camila worked. Was she struggling? Good. Let her feel the weight of running a company. My suspicions about Elisa grew when Maria, still loyal to me, sent photos of her visiting our offices 3 times that week. One showed her and Camila laughing in the conference room, champagne glasses in hand, celebrating their victory over me. Luisa's investigation brought shocking news. The will presented to the board wasn't the one filed with the court. The official will left Claudio's shares to me, with instructions that Camila should inherit only after my retirement or death. Someone had created a forgery. We have enough for a restraining order, Luisa said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. But we need concrete proof of who altered the will. My contact at the county clerk's office says someone requested copies 6 months ago. Who? The signature is illegible, but they paid with a company credit card. From Blackwood Designs. Elisa. It had to be. But why would Camila partner with our biggest competitor? What was I missing? The answer came from an unexpected source. Gregory Phillips, our longtime attorney, showed up at my apartment, looking nervous. I should have come sooner, he said, refusing to sit. After Claudio died, Camila asked me to step back from company matters. Said you wanted space from reminders of him. I never said that. I realized that when I heard about the board meeting. There's something else. Camila's been dating someone for months. She didn't want you to know. My heart sank. Who? Jason Blackwood. Elisa Sain. Sudenli. Everything made sense. This wasn't just a business takeover. It was personal. My daughter had fallen for the enemy's son, and together they were dismantling everything I'd built. Script part separator ===. I left dozens of messages for Camila. She never returned them. When I finally went to the office, security stopped me in the lobby. I'm sorry, Mr. Vasquez. We have orders not to allow you upstairs. Orders. I built this building. My voice echoed across the marble lobby, turning heads. That's my daughter up there. The guard looked genuinely apologetic. I could lose my job, mãe. I walked away, humiliated but determined. That afternoon, I waited in the parking garage until I spotted Camila heading to her car, my old Mercedes that I'd gifted her last year. We need to talk, I said, stepping from behind a concrete pillar. She startled, then composed herself. Mom, you shouldn't be here. My own daughter won't take my calls. What choice do I have? I've been busy running the company. She checked her watch. I have a dinner meeting. With Jason Blackwood. Or his mother. The color drained from her face. How did you? Did you think I wouldn't find out? That woman has been trying to destroy our company for years, and you're sleeping with her son? It's not like that. Camila's voice wavered. Jason loves me. We met before any of this. Before what, exactly? Before you forged your father's will? Before you stole my company? I didn't forge anything. Her eyes flashed. Dad left me those shares. No, he didn't. I've seen the real will, Camila. The one filed with the courts. For a moment, confusion crossed her face, real confusion, and I realized something critical. My daughter might be a participant in this scheme, but she wasn't its architect. What are you talking about? Dad's lawyer showed me the will right after he died. Which lawyer? Because it wasn't Gregory Phillips. Script part separator ===. She stared at me, and I saw the first cracks in her conviction. Adams. Richard Adams. He said he was Dad's personal attorney. Claudio never had a personal attorney. Everything went through Phillips. But Adams had business cards, letterhead. Her voice trailed off. He showed me the will with Dad's signature. I stepped closer. A forged signature. Camila. Someone set you up. No, that's impossible. She shook her head. Elisa introduced me to Adams. She said he. Elisa. I grabbed her arm. Can't you see what's happening? She's using you. Camila pulled away. You always do this. Anyone who doesn't agree with your vision is manipulating me. Jason loves me. Elisa has mentored me when you were too busy grieving to notice I was drowning trying to keep this company afloat. The accusation stung. Is that what this is about? You felt neglected? It's about Dad believing in me enough to give me control. About finally stepping out of your shadow. Your father loved you more than anything, but this will is a fake. Elisa is manipulating you to get what she's always wanted, our company. You can't accept that Dad might have trusted me more than you. Her voice broke. Just leave, Mom. It's over. As she drove away, I knew I'd lost this round. But the confusion I'd seen in her eyes gave me hope. She wasn't the mastermind, she was another victim. Back in my apartment, I found Louisa waiting with news. We got the court order, she said. No major assets can be sold or transferred for 30 days while we investigate. It won't be enough, I said, pouring myself a much-needed whiskey. Camila thinks I'm the villain here. Then we need proof she can't ignore. What about company emails? Financial records? I don't have access anymore. But Maria does, Louisa said with a sly smile. And she's still Team Antonia. Script part separator, That night, Maria sent over 6 months of company emails. What we found confirmed my worst fears. Elisa had been systematically working her way into Camila's life for nearly a year, introducing her to Jason at industry events, offering mentorship lunches, gradually isolating my daughter from me. The most damning evidence was an email chain between Elisa and Richard Adams discussing the document preparation with specific instructions to make the forgery convincing. They'd even practiced Claudio's signature. But the real bombshell came when I found emails discussing Blackwood's plans after acquiring Vasquez Architectural. Oh my God, I whispered, staring at my screen. They're planning to strip the company for parts. Sell off our client list, fire most of the staff, and absorb our government contracts. Camila has no idea, Louisa said, reading over my shoulder. They'll destroy everything you built. And ruin my daughter's reputation in the process. She thinks she's falling in love. She doesn't realize she's just a pawn. The next morning brought worse news. Maria called in a panic. They found out I've been helping you. Camila fired me on the spot. But that's not all. They're calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow to vote on merging with Blackwood Designs. So soon. The court order won't stop a merger vote. They found a loophole. If they move fast enough, it'll be done before the judge can intervene. I sank into a chair. Without company credentials, we couldn't access the servers anymore. Without Maria as our inside person, we were flying blind. We need a new plan, Louisa said, pacing my small living room. We have evidence of fraud, but not enough to stop a board vote tomorrow. Then we don't stop it, I said slowly, an idea forming. We crash it. Script part separator, The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. in our main conference room, a room I designed with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. I'd always valued transparency in business, while Elisa preferred operating in shadows. Louisa and I arrived 30 minutes early, slipping in through the service entrance with help from a maintenance worker who'd known me for years. We positioned ourselves in the small catering kitchen adjacent to the conference room, where we could hear everything through the thin wall. Are you ready? Louisa whispered, squeezing my hand. I nodded, though my heart pounded so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Everything hinged on timing. Board members filtered in, followed by Camila, looking polished but exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and she kept checking her phone nervously. Next came Elisa Blackwood, tall, elegant, and predatory, with her son Jason at her side. His hand rested possessively on Camila's lower back. Let's begin, Camila announced. We're here to vote on the proposed merger between Vasquez Architectural Solutions and Blackwood Designs. Elisa smiled. This partnership will position us as the largest architectural firm in the region. The synergies are obvious. One board member raised his hand. What about the court order prohibiting major asset transfers? Our attorneys have confirmed this vote can proceed, Elisa said smoothly. The actual asset transfer would occur after legal clearance. And what happens to existing staff? Another asked. Jason stepped forward. We'll evaluate redundancies, of course, but the Vasquez name and legacy will continue. Pure lies. I'd seen the emails outlining mass layoffs within weeks. If there are no further questions, Camila said, I call for a vote on Resolution 457, authorizing. That was my cue. I pushed through the kitchen door, Louisa right behind me. I think there are plenty more questions, I announced. Script part separator, The boardroom froze. Camila's face went pale. Mom, how did you get in here? I strode to the center of the room. You forget who designed this building. I know every entrance, every corner. This is a private meeting, Elisa snapped, standing. Security. Before you call them, Louisa interrupted, you should know we've already delivered these documents to the district attorney. She placed a thick folder on the table. Evidence of forgery, fraud, and conspiracy. I faced the board members directly. The will that gave Camila control was forged. Here's the authentic version filed with the court. I slid copies across the table. Notice the differences in Claudio's signature? Jason moved toward Camila. Don't listen to this. She's desperate. And here, I continued, projecting emails onto the conference room screen, is the real plan for after this merger. Mass layoffs. Selling off our client portfolios. Dismantling everything we built. Camila grabbed the documents, scanning them with growing horror. This can't be right. Look at the signatures, Camila. Compare them to Dad's other documents. Her hands trembled. These don't match. And the emails? I nodded toward the screen. Elisa lunged for her laptop. Those are confidential business communications. This is corporate espionage. Funny thing about conspiracy to commit fraud, Louisa said calmly. It negates confidentiality protections. The board members murmured, examining the evidence. One looked at Camila. Is this true? Were we misled about the will? Before she could answer, Jason grabbed her arm. We should continue this discussion privately. I stepped between them. Camila, they used you. They knew you felt overshadowed, that you were struggling after your father died. They manipulated those vulnerabilities. Don't listen to her, Elisa hissed. Camila looked from the documents to me, then to Jason. Did you know about this? His hesitation told her everything. Script part separator, The silence in that boardroom was deafening. Camila's face transformed as realization dawned, first shock, then hurt, finally settling into cold fury as she turned to face Jason. You knew, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. All this time, you knew. Jason reached for her hand. Camila, baby, it's complicated. Business is business. We can still. She jerked away from him. Business. This is my family's legacy. My mother's life work. A legacy built on outdated models, Elisa cut in smoothly. Antonia's time was over. We merely accelerated the inevitable. I stepped forward. By forging my husband's will? By manipulating my daughter? The board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. One of them, Henderson, cleared his throat. I think we should postpone this vote pending investigation of these allegations. Elisa's composed facade cracked. This is absurd. We have contracts ready to sign. Contracts based on fraud, Louisa interjected. The DA is particularly interested in that part. Camila walked to the head of the table, visibly shaking but standing tall. This meeting is adjourned. And security will be escorting the Blackwoods from the building. You can't do this, Elisa snarled. Actually, I said, she can. She's still CEO until this mess is sorted out. And despite everything, she's still my daughter. For the first time in weeks, Camila and I looked at each other with something resembling understanding. There was a long road ahead to rebuild trust, but in that moment, we were aligned against a common enemy. As security arrived to remove the Blackwoods, Camila turned to the board. Gentlemen, I suggest we reconvene tomorrow after you've had time to review this evidence. And I'll be asking for my mother's counsel. Script part separator, The next morning, I arrived at the office, walking through the front door this time, to find Camila waiting for me. She looked like she hadn't slept. I don't even know where to start, she said, gesturing me into what had once been my office. Her personal items were already packed in boxes. How about with why? I asked, trying to keep accusation from my voice. She sank into a chair. I was drowning after Dad died. You were lost in grief, and suddenly I was handling everything. When Elisa started mentoring me, it felt like someone finally saw me. Her voice cracked. Then I met Jason, and he made me feel special. And the will. Adam showed it to me 2 months after Dad died. Said Dad wanted to protect me from your controlling tendencies. She looked up, tears streaming. It made sense at the time. You've always been so perfect. So intimidating. I was stunned. You think I'm perfect? Camila, I've been terrified every day of my career. I just never showed it. That's the problem. You never showed weakness, never needed help. How was I supposed to live up to that? I moved to kneel beside her chair. I never meant to make you feel inadequate. I thought I was showing you strength. What happens now? She asked, wiping her eyes. Legally, Elisa and Jason will likely face charges. The board wants me back as CEO. And us. I took a deep breath. That depends. Can you forgive me for not seeing how much pressure you were under? And can I trust you again? Her hand found mine. I want to try. I was so wrong, Mom. So stupid. Not stupid. Young. Manipulated by experts. I squeezed her hand. We have a company to save. Together this time. The media caught wind of the scandal by noon. By evening, it was everywhere. Architectural dynasty survives hostile takeover attempt. Reporters camped outside our building, hungry for statements. Script part separator, We agreed to face them together. Standing on the steps of our headquarters, Camila and I presented a united front as cameras flashed around us. Vasquez Architectural Solutions will continue under its original leadership, I announced, feeling a surreal sense of déjà vu. Just weeks ago, I'd been locked out of this very building. As interim CEO during recent weeks, Camila added, I unwittingly became part of a fraudulent scheme orchestrated by Blackwood Designs. Their attempt to acquire our company through deception has failed. A reporter shouted from the crowd, Is it true Elisa Blackwood was arrested this morning? I nodded. The district attorney's office is handling the criminal aspects of this case. We're cooperating fully with their investigation. What about your relationship with Jason Blackwood? Someone called to Camila. Her face flushed, but she stood tall. I was deceived, personally and professionally. It's a painful lesson in trusting too quickly. Later that evening, as we shared a quiet dinner in the penthouse, my penthouse, though I'd invited Camila to stay until she found a new place, she seemed pensive. What are you thinking? I asked. About Dad. She pushed pasta around her plate. He would be so disappointed in me. No, I said firmly. He would be proud of how you're making it right. I almost destroyed everything you built. Almost, I emphasized. But when it mattered, you chose truth. That's what counts. Over the next few weeks, we worked to rebuild both the company and our relationship. The board reinstated me as CEO with Camila as Chief Operating Officer, a more appropriate step in her career progression. Maria returned to her position, along with other staff members who'd been let go in Camila's brief tenure. The Chicago project that had been on hold moved forward, and clients who'd been hesitant during the upheaval returned, reassured by our stability. Elisa and Jason Blackwood's legal troubles mounted as investigators uncovered more evidence of their schemes, not just against us, but other firms they'd targeted over the years. They faced multiple charges of fraud, forgery, and corporate espionage. The architectural community, once dazzled by Elisa's charisma, now shunned her completely. 6 months after our showdown in the boardroom, I sat in a courtroom watching Elisa sentenced to 4 years in prison. Jason received a suspended sentence in community service, partly due to Camila's surprising testimony that he'd expressed remorse in private messages after their breakup. When I questioned her about this leniency, she shrugged. Hating them takes too much energy, Mom. I'm focused on rebuilding. And rebuild we did. Camila proved to be an exceptional COO, bringing fresh perspectives while respecting the foundation I'd laid. Our working relationship evolved into something stronger than before, a true partnership of equals. 1 year after the attempted takeover, we gathered the entire company for an anniversary celebration. Standing beside Camila on the rooftop garden of our building, overlooking the city where Claudio and I had started with nothing, I felt a profound sense of completion. I raised my glass to address our employees. 33 years ago, Vasquez Architectural was born in a garage. We've weathered economic downturns, personal tragedy, and yes, even betrayal. But we're still standing. Camila stepped forward. And we're stronger for having been tested. My mother taught me that a company isn't just buildings and blueprints, it's a legacy. One I'm honored to help continue. As applause erupted around us, I embraced my daughter. The road back hadn't been easy. Trust rebuilds slowly, like a house, brick by careful brick. But we'd done it. That night, looking out from my penthouse at the city lights, I reflected on everything that had happened. I'd lost my husband, nearly lost my company and daughter, but somehow emerged with something precious, wisdom. Life doesn't give you what you expect. It gives you what you need to grow. Sometimes that means falling so you can learn to rise again. And rise we did, mother and daughter, stronger together than we ever were apart. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I smiled, deleting it without a second thought. Some battles leave scars, but they also make you invincible.